Mama needs help. A little girl knocked at midnight. Mama needs help. The widow rancher lit every lantern. Winter Hollow, Colorado Territory, midwinter, 1882. Winter Hollow lie nestled between craggy peaks and the snow-laden pines. A quiet town are forgotten by time. Since the late autumn, snow had blanketed the land, piling bigger than wagon wheels. By midwinter, the cold beat harder than wolves, and even the wind howled like something wild and lost. About the town, on a ridge swallowed by drifts, stood a lonely log cabin, dark, silent, and still. No candle flickered in its windows. No smoke rose from its chimney. It looked like a home abandoned, but it wasn't there. It was simply a house where Opelon since died. Inside Saturday morning, it was a broazo de man in his early años 40, bearded, ragged, worn down by years of sorrow. 6 winters ago, a sudden blizzard stole his wife, Rose, and their daughter, Lily, while he was away on a hunt. Since then, Ellie had lived in silence, lighting no lamps after sunset, speaking to no one, keeping company only with ghosts and the craig of all good. On this particular night, as the snow fell thick outside, and the hearts remained cold, Ellie sat hunched in a chair, staring at nothing. Then, rap, rap, rap. A blink, a knock. It came again, sharper this time, against the good. Ellie stood slowly, his joints protested as if unused to movement. A step to the door and opened it. A ruse of a easy wind filled the room, and standing at the threshold was a little girl, no more than 6, wrapped in a trivial soul. Her cheeks were flushed, her lips trembling, her hair last with snowflakes. She didn't cry, she didn't beg, but her eyes burned with something stronger than fear. Please, mister, she said, voice tight and cracking. Mama needs help, she felt, and she can't breathe right. Ellie stared. No one had knocked on his door in years. No one had dared. But here stood this chill, shaking in the cold, eyes locked on his legs and knew somehow that it was her only chance. A crowd beside her, his voice rapped from the Suse. How far is your mama? Sweetheart? Down the river bend, she whispered. We were reading. Mama fell off. I tried to help, but she told me to run to find someone. Her small fist clenched at her sides. She looked exhausted, but not broken. That fear in her eyes reminded Ellie too much of Lily, his little girl who never gave up, even in stories. Without a word, Ellie pulled off his heavy wool coat and wrapped it around her. Let's get you warm first, then Ella go get your mama. She blinked, nodding slowly, and lifted her gently into the cabin, set her near the door, then turned toward the corner where an old chest had unopened for years. Inside lay a collection of lanterns, dusty but intact. One by one, Ellie lit them, his fingers trembling not from cold but from memory. He set the lanterns along the porch by the steps on fence posts still picking through snow. The warm glow pushed back the dark like a prayer. It was the first time in 6 years light had touched this home. Then Ellie took the storm lantern from its oak. It was battered, its brass dull, but the glass still held steady. He filled it with oil, struck a match, and watched as a big flare to life. Amber light pulled across the floor. The girl, still silent, watched everything with wide eyes. Ellie looked down at her. But your name? Emma? And nodded once. I'm Ellie. He took her small hand in his, the storm lantern in the other. We will find your mama, Emma. I promise you that. Together they stepped into the swirling snow, one tall, one small. The lantern's glow lit a golden path ahead, and for the first time in years, Ellie Morgan walked into the night, not away from grief, but towards something worth saving. Snow slashed was across the lantern glass, its light flickering wildly as Ellie pushed forward through side drifts. Emma clung to his side, half lifted by his strong arm, her teeny boots vanishing into the snow with every step. We were almost there, Sai whispered, pointing toward a clump of trees by the river, her voice brittle with cold. Use past those pines. Ellie nodded. Joe clenched, his breast steamed like smoke in the frigid dark. They crested a small league, and there, barely visible beneath a blanket of white, lay my Belle Carter. She was cramped in a hollow by the train, her dark hair stiff with frost, one hand protectively crawling her swollen belly. The major shithered stood nearby, Ryan standing on a low branch, snorting and pawing anxiously. Maivel eli dropped to his knees, brushing the snow from her face. Her lips were pale, her skin clammy despite the freezing air. Her breath came in sharp, shallow gasps, and her eyes fluttered open only briefly before rolling back. She fell hard, Emma said, voice trembling now. The horse slipped on the river bend. She screamed once, then stopped talking. Eli pressed his hand gently against her belly. Beneath the layers, the muscles were tight, too tight, a cold feeling. The pain wasn't useful. This was labor coming far too early and wrong. I called firmly, leaning closer. You hear me? I'm taking you home. Hold on. Her eyes flickered open again. Pain lancing through them like lightning. The baby, she rasped. I can. You can, he said, already unfastening his coat, but not here. In one smooth motion, Eli stripped off his oilskin coat and wrapped it tightly around her belly, securing it with a leather strap from his saddlebag. Blood seeped through her skirt and was beginning to stand the snow. I need both of you to stay strong, he said, his voice grabbed but steady. He lifted Maivel into his arms. She cried out softly but did not resist. Her entire body was limp with exhaustion and pain. Emma reached up, tucking her mother's cold fingers in her own as they began the long trek back. Snow blasted into their faces, biting and blinding. But Eli pushed forward. Step by brutal step, he carried Maivel across the frozen land. Emma threw him silently beside him, one hand clutching her mother's and the other holding tight to Eli's coat. His breath came heavier now, fogging the lamp's glass. Every muscle screamed with strength, but it did not slow. A harsh gust of wind was a whisper from the past. You weren't there in time. You left them too long. You found them. Not again. Not tonight. He looked down at the woman in his arms and the child at his side. Two souls clinging to life by the thinnest thread. When the cabin finally came into view, lit now by the lanterns they had left burning, Eli set forward with the last of his strength. Inside, he laid Maivel gently on the ground sitting near the fire. Emma crawled beside her, brushing her hair back with trembling fingers. "It's going to be okay now, right?" she asked, voice nearly gone. Eli paused. His hands were bloodied. The fire crackled. Maivel moaned. One hand still pressed to her belly, her body convulsing as another contraction tore through her. There was no time. The nearest doctor was over 20 meters away. No reader could make it through the storming time. He stood still for a long moment, watching her labor through clenched teeth, watching Emma curl protectively beside her. Then Eli Morgan turned to the kitchen, grabbed the cleanest linens around, fetched a pail of warm water, and took alone, steadying breath. He will not lose another family to the storm, he muttered to himself. Eli looked back at the woman lying in pain and the child looking up at him with silent truth. And the mother the choice. A good stay, a good fight, a good deliver this child himself. Tonight, no matter what he took, the storm still raged outside. Wind howled through the cracks in the walls, and snow piled against the windows. Inside, the dim kitchen flickered with the trembling glow of a single oil lamp. Shadows danced on the wooden walls, lone and restless. Maivel lay on the sick blanket. Eli had spread across the worn kitchen table, her breast ragged, skin pale, hair drenched with sweat. Her hands gripped the edges of the table as another wave of pain overtook her. Eli knelt at her side. Sleeves rolled up, hands trembling slightly as he tried to steady her breathing. "Breathe, Maivel," he said softly but firmly. "It will not fail you again." His voice cracked. Alonso stood in a similar room miles away, holding his wife's hand as she slipped from him. Too much blood, too little help. The echo of her cries haunted him even now. But this time would not freeze, would not hesitate. Emma sat on a stool beside her mother's head, holding her hand tightly. The little girl had not cried since the night began, but now tears welled up in her eyes. "She's hurting merrily," she whispered. "I know, sweetheart, but your boys can help her. Talk to her. Tell her something nice, something that makes her smile." Emma nodded, wiping her nose with her sleeve. She leaned closer and began whispering a story about a horse with wings, about the summer her mama took her swimming in the lake. Her voice was shaky, but steady, gentle, steady. Another contraction is Maivel's body. She added with pain and moaned. blow so the linens beneath her. Ellie worked quickly, applying pressure where it could. His jaw set, sweat dripping down his temples. The baby was coming fast and not well. "You're not alone," Ellie whispered. "Not this time, not ever again." Mabel slipped in and out of consciousness. Her fingers clenched Ellie's arm in moments of agony, and as time shifted, Emma's small voice brought her back. The baby's heartbeat faltered. The rhythm was off. Ellie felt panic rise in his chest, but swallowed it. It forced his mind to stay focused. Every movement had to count. "You're almost there," Mabel said. "One more push. You can do this." Mabel's lips moved, but no sound came. Her body trembled with exhaustion. "Push," Ellie said again louder. Now, she screamed raw and full. And then silence. A single heartbeat passed. Then came the cry, sharp, strong, impossibly loud in the small room. The fierce cry of new life. Emma gasped, her eyes wide with wonder. Ellie held the teeny child in his arms, sleek with blood and worms, and the storm outside seemed to hush just for a moment. A little girl, red-faced and furious, kicked her feet and wailed. Ellie laughed, choked with emotion. His hands, stunned and shaking, cradled the infant with a tenderness totally with his own child. He wrapped her carefully in the soft flannel blanket he had kept for years, the one meant for Lily. "She's beautiful," he whispered, his voice breaking. He turned to Emma. "You have a baby sister." Emma's smile broke through the tears. Mabel opened her eyes slowly, lips trembling. "Is say?" she whispered. "She's perfect," Ellie said, placing the baby gently on her chest. Mabel cried and softly as her hands found her child. And Ellie, for the first time in 6 years, sat down, let his head fall into his hands, and wept, not for the past, but for the miracle that had bloomed in the middle of a storm. The kitchen, once so cold and silent, now pulsed with life, new life, and the man who had lived in shadows now held the light. Morning came slow and pale, seeping through the frosted window like a timid guest. The small kitchen still smelled faintly of smoke and blood, but now it held something else at all. Worms. Mabel lay on the maxed bed, her cheeks still pale, but her breathing steady, lips parted softly in sleep, her hair clung to her damp temples. One hand rested protectively on the small bundle curled against her chest. Beside her, Emma sat on a wooden chair, too small for the long nights I had endured. Her head leaned against her mother's arm, mouth slightly open in sleep. One small hand still clung to Mabel's fingers. Across the room, Ellie sat on the floor, his back resting against the cold wall, knees bent, his eyes were open, but soft. In his lap, the newborn slept, wrapped tight in the soft flannel, and the gentleness of his touch. He looked down at her teeny face, the rise and fall of her breast. Then he reached over to the bucket of warm water and rinsed his hands slowly, deliberately. The blood had dried in the creases of his nucleus. The class used to diadema belonged to his wife Once, embroidered with a faded rose. Ellie moved carefully, unwrapping the baby, inspecting her fingers, her toes, her perfect teeny lungs that filled the room with a fierce cry of down. He found a clean scrap of linen, folded it, and chained her with hands that trembled, but not from fear, from reverence. "You come through the storm," he whispered to her. "You're stronger than you look." A soft rustle came from the bed. Mabel blinked slowly, her eyes struggling to focus until they landed on him. Her voice cracked like cenize. "You shall do ese." Ellie looked up. For a moment, he said nothing. Then he shook his head gently, still cradling the baby in his arms. Emma found me. He used follow her light. Mabel's eyes shimmered, but she did not cry. She only watched us move closer, lying the baby into her arms with such a recall of a vein glass. A moment passed, and then Mabel saw the blanket. "These was hers," she asked, her fingers brushing the faded pink hem. Ellie nodded once. "It was Lily's." She held the child tighter, like holding her in that piece of memory good somehow kept her warmer. He rose without a word and walked to a small chest tucked near the door. From it, he pulled out another blanket, an old coat, actually, a woman's coat, thick wool, patched at the elbows. He laid it gently over Mabel's legs. You agent needed more than he ever did. The sun now crept across the wooden floor, warming the room slowly. Eli walked to the window, hands at his sides. Then, in a motion atmosphere gaten, e un latche di, the hinges groaned, but the glass pushed open. A ruse of color entered, but visit come weird son, quick, but real. A step back and let the light fall across the kitchen table. Emma stared, blinking the guac. Her face was pale, but her smile was as guaida as the sun. Is Mama okay? Say asked, voice groggy. Mabel nodded. Guireung, okay now, baby? Ellie rolled over the plate of bread and warm by the stove. Breakfast? He said. It is not much, but it is warm. They ate slowly, the three of them. Bread, a little honey, warm water in tin mugs. The baby nursed quietly in Mabel's arms. When they had finished, Ellie put on his coat, stepped outside, and crossed the yard, where the snow was beginning to melt under the thin touch of morning. At the edge of the field stood two wooden markers, all done weather, and knelt before them, pulling from his coat pocket a single wheat flower, brittle from the cold, but still beautiful. A letter at the base of the stone that read, Rosa and Lily Morgan. His voice was soft, almost lost in the wind. I call not save you, but Mavi. Mavi saving them is part of making peace. The wind answered with a low hush, and Nelly stood in silence, letting the sunlight finally reach his back. The sprinter was coolly guided his horse into winter hollow, the always crunching over soilers and patches of stubborn snow. It had been 6 long years since they had ridden down Main Street, but now it carried with him a reason and a responsibility. Etaí the horse outside the general store and stepped inside to buy medicine. Class hippers and herbs, heads turned, conversations deep to murmurs. Someone whispered near the dry goats a isle. Did you hear? There is a woman up at his ranch. And a baby? To. Another voice, hushed but biting, added, 6 years in the dark, and now it brings a widow into his house. A baby born right there, they say. Whole town soon ridden with blood on his coat. Ellie said nothing. Epad tipped his hat to the stand cashier and left. The weight of the word did not show on his face, but it followed him like a second's ago. Vain tossed whispers to Jed Barlow. Jed was a rough man, a rancher known more for his mouth than his manners. E ad once made a move on Mabel. Shortly after her husband died, and had not taken her refusal kindly. Now, seeing her survive and find shelter, not in his arms, but at Ellie Morgan's, did a bitter fear in him. She ran to the first man who opened his door. Jed snared to anyone who could listen at the saloon. 8 months alone and now living with him up there day and night. You call that decent? A few women in town who prided themselves on appearances more than compassion echoed his tone. It's about the example. What are we teaching our daughters? Others hesitated. They remember Mabel as kind, quiet, a good mother. But whispers have a way of stunning even the cleanest reputations. Back at the ranch, Mabel sat on the porch with her newborn in her arms. When Ellie returned and she saw the tennis in his jaw, she didn't need to ask. She knew. They were talking, aren't they? And not slow. Jed started it. Others joined in. She stood, swaying slightly from weakness and went inside. 20 minutes, Sai was packing. I won't have Emma grow up in whispers, Sai said firmly, though her hands trembled. I won't let her walk into town and see pity in every eye or worse. Ellie watched him moving, then softly spoke. I read with you wherever you go, but I won't let fair decide for you. His voice was steady, but his heart sounded. From behind the door from it, a small voice interrupted. Emma heard everything. She stepped out, cheeks flushed, little fists clenched at her sides. I heard them saying bad things about Mama. Mabel turned startled. Emma, you don't need to. But again lifted her chin. My Mama is brave, she said loud and clear, voice shaking bad and wavering. She's up my baby brother. She walked through snow, and narrowly skinned, a sad was about. Silence, another who had wandered up the past too frozen. More people in the town had gathered than either Ellie or Mabel, and every one of them heard the girl, the rawness in her tone, the conviction in her teeny frown. It was stronger than any sermon, more honest than any defense. A woman in the back wiped her eyes. A man near the steps looked down at his boots. No one spoke. Mabel knelt and pulled Emma into her arms, holding her tight. Eli stood beside them, not speaking, but something in his eyes had softened. The edge of pain outweighed the edge of pride. No more words were needed. The cause when truth is spoken by a child, it cuts deeper than rumor and heals faster than silence. The wind had softened by morning, but snow still blanketed the roof in 6 islands. Inside the old ranch house, something a chant, not in the weather, but in the air. Ellie stood out front, eyes scanning the siding shingles above the porch. The roof had through the storm, but barely. The woman and her baby resting inside the desert better than barely. Climbed onto the ladder without a word, and began stripping dummy tails, hammering in new ones at the salvi from the barn. Worked slow, methodical, shoulders handed against the chill. Didn't what for thanks. Didn't ask for approval. Simply built something stronger, one nada time. Inside, Mabel watched through the window. Baby crawled against her shoulder. Her body still attached from the bed, but her heart touched more from the sight of a man working without pride or demand. Use kindness. That evening, Emma set the table. She stood on her tiptoes to smooth out the napkins, trying to fold them like she remembered her mama doing when Papa was still alive. They weren't perfect, but she was proud. Mabel had left 2 into tin bowls, humming softly. The aroma of carrots, onions, and leftover roast filled the small kitchen. Ellie entered quietly, removing his coat and hanging it by the door. His hands were cracked and calloused from the day, but when he reached for the salt, he passed it gently like it was the most natural thing in the world. They ate without much talk, used the clinking of spoons, the crackle of the hearts, and the catching a happy gurgle from the newborn in a basket by the stove. It was a simple meal. Stew, stale bread, warm tea, but to the 3 of them, it made as well a bebé and a feast. At one point, Ellie looked up and caught Emma watching him. "What is it, sweetheart?" He asked softly. Emma shook her head, grinning. "This feels like home." Neither adult spoke, but they both smiled. After the meal, Ellie excused himself and went to the old trunk at the foot of his bed. He hadn't opened it in years, not since the funeral. He lifted the lid slowly, thus most dancing in the lantern light. Inside was a folded dress, a dry bouquet, and a small velvet pouch. He brought the pouch back into the kitchen and held it out to Mabel. She looked at him puzzled. "What's this?" Ellie didn't see it. He only stood there, eyes keen but distant. "It was roses," he said. "A silver locket. She wore it the day we married." Mabel hesitated, her hand hovering. "I can't." "You can," he said gently. "For the baby. It broke, Lofonse. Maybe it will again." Her fingers closed around the pouch. She didn't open it yet. She only whispered, "Thank you." Later that night, after Mabel had gone to bed and Emma curled into her quilts, Ellie sat alone at the table, a cup of cooling tea untouched beside him. He pulled out a sheet of paper and dipped the pen. He had written letters before to no one, to Goose, to himself. But tonight, he addressed it to the one family that had every right to hire him. Rose's parents. "Dear Henry and Jan, it's been 6 winters. I don't expect forgiveness, and I won't know what to do with it if it come. But I want you to know if I found light again. It's not the same. It never could be. But something knocked at my door one night. A little girl, scared, cold, asking for help. And in helping her, I found something it already lost forever. A reason to light the lanterns again. The ink blessed lightly, I suppose. Then I finished. I hope you read well. I hope one day if you ever find your way out here, you ever made the reason I come back to life. It all started with a knock at midnight. I folded the letter, sealed it, and placed it beside the lantern. Outside, the snow was stopped falling. Inside, the light stayed on, and for the first time in years, Ellie Morgan didn't feel alone. Spring came later to winter hollow, but when it did, it came gently. The thick layers of snow wrecked, leaving vain dampers and the fierce broad clusters of wildflowers pushing up along the fence line. They smelled of pines up and turned soil. For the first time in many years, the sun felt warm again. Ellie was in the field hammering new posts into the ground, replacing what winter had cracked and broken. A hard swing of the machete could not use strength, but purpose. On the porch, Mabel sat with a pallet beside her, wringing out a line of clay and baby cloths. Her sleeves were rude, hair pinned up, and for the first time since that harrowing night, her cheeks carried color. Sai paused to look out across the field at Ellie. Emma was barefoot in the yard, chasing a mouse with a ribbon in her hand, her laughter as light as a breeze. Chickens pecked nearby, and from the open kitchen window came the scent of fresh bread. The ranch, once a place of silence and sorrows, now passed with life. It was no longer used Ellie's house. It was something more. That evening, Mabel set the table with care. She used the best dishes, still chipped, but polished, and wiped the wooden surface until it glowed in the fading sun. She steeped their leaves in a tin pot and lit the small lamp, not for necessity, but for comfort. Gwenely stepped in, wiping dirt from his hands. She met him with a quiet smile. No words. That was her invitation. That was her jest. Emma took herself between them, chattering as she passed the bread and talked about bees and clouds and the rabbits and the May button. She was thrilled, sewing tale stories together with her voice. Mabel just poured a cup of tea. As she handed it to him, her fingers brushed his. He did not pull back. Instead, he looked at her, really looked, and she looked back. Neither spoke, neither needed to. In that glance, there was more than gratitude, more than companionship. There was a promise, unspoken, but strong. They survived something dark and unrelenting. And now is the snow gone. Their hearts had room to bloom. After supper, Mabel disappeared into the other room. She returned holding something carefully folded. A coat. Ellie's coat, the one had wrapped around Emma the night she knocked on his door. She stepped forward and without a word wrapped it over his shoulders. You got this to save someone you didn't know, I said, voice soft but sour. I'm keeping it now. I'm the man who gave it. Ellie stood frozen for a moment, eyes locked on hers. Then he placed his hand over hers where it still rested on the fabric. There was no need for more words. Later that night, the porch lantern glowed, not out of fear, but by choice. Ellie sat outside as Emma danced in the grass, numbing fireflies, chasing tail glow. Say paused, picked up the lantern, and turned to him. "I want to name it," she declared. Ellie raised an eyebrow. "The lantern." Emma nodded. "It's open," she said firmly, "because it keeps coming back." Ellie laughed. The sound wore mandum burdenet. Mabel came to the doorway, baby on her hip, and smiled at the scene. The darkness was still there, somewhere on the edges of memory, but it no longer ruled the house. Light had found its way in, and its staff. 1 year later, the winds no longer howled through Winter Hollow. They sang. In the mornings, children's laughter echoed from the front room of the ranch house. Mabel had turned it into a schoolroom. Kids from nearby homesteads came for eating, writing, and warm biscuits fresh from the oven. Their muddy boots lined up on the porch, and their coats hung on maxer pegs near the hearth. Books, laughter, and the scent of honey butter filled the air. Ellie opened the old barn and began hosting weary travelers. Ranchers, hunters, and los wanderers had found coffee, kindness, and a roof under his care. He never asked too many questions, only offered warmth and a place to rest. The baby, now a guided crawler with a thick sock of dark hair, gurgled happily in a woven cradle. Emma had grown a year. Her braids were long hair, her freckles more pronounced, but her eyes were still used as clear, used as full of light. Every morning, used as a picked over the rig, 3 soft knocks would come at Ellie's door. Morning, Emma ready, breakfast ready. It had become a tail ritual. And every morning, Ellie answered with the same words and a warm grin. "Be right there, sweetheart." The knocks no longer signaled panic nor desperation. They were an invitation to family, to warmth, to the day ahead, an echo of something broken motherhood. Sometimes Emma would knock when his sign was already up, used to be sure that they began right. And Ellie always answered, even if it had already been standing by the door. One evening, as the sky burned gold and rose, the whole family walked up the gentle hill above the ranch. Ellie carried the baby on his back in a soft blanket sling. Mabel walked beside him, hand in hand, her dress brushing wildflowers. Emma raised ahead, her dress catching the wind, a small dog barking joyfully at her heels. They stopped at the crest, looking down at the house, its windows glowing with golden light, smoke curling gently from the chimney. A swing cracked on the porch, and the garden rose shimmered in the dusk like a promise kept. Ellie turned to look at them, at the woman who brought spring into his frozen life, a the daughter who knocked on his or when the world against Aiden, and a the child who was born in the middle of a storm. Etocas lubres. The trees while gently vein them, rustling like whisper blessings. And there, still hanging on the porch, the old lantern burned. Not because ita to, but because now someone always lit it. One knock changed everything. It lit a lantern that along gone cold. It wasn't they used a cry for help. It was the sound of Ope coming home. If a little girl knocked at midnight, Mama needs help. The widow rancher lit every lantern. Touch your ear. Hit the high button, and help us spread the warmth of Ope through the coldest storms. And don't forget to subscribe to our West Love Stories for more heartfelt tales of love, redemption, and resilience from the rugged frontier. The lanterns are still glowing, and the stories are just getting started. See you in the next reader.